Welcome to this week's End of Days Update, coming to you from Tulsa, Oklahoma. We're here at our new warehouse and our new set. Been so blessed to have my friend Rick Rue build this and design it. Like I said, every week so far we've been looking at what we'll do here. We're going to do several other videos here, but the End of Days Update is coming to you each week to look at the different things that are happening around Israel. And sometime we'll get a chance to look around the set. There's some really fun stuff to make it comfortable. And you get an idea of Crazy Joe's thought pattern about old, cool. And man, this is a really big week for Israel. Gosh, you should have seen what all the reports were. Israel under attack. We're coming to you a little bit late today because I've been waiting for all the things that have been happening because so much stuff has happened. But if you're anywhere near Lancaster, South Carolina this weekend, we'll be at Destiny Bible Church Friday, Saturday, and Sunday morning. We had such a great time this last week in Life United. Great crowds, hungry people there in Shreveport. Had a wonderful time there in Shreveport, Louisiana. So if you can, come be with us on the road. It's fun to be in meetings on the road, but we're coming every week to look at these things that happen. Every single week, something shocks me how blatant it is about the coming of the Lord. And as we'll get into things of what's happened around Israel this week, it makes even more of a point to us that these things are all happening. Because we talk about the signs. I tell you, sign after sign after sign keeps happening. So remember, Jesus rebuked the Pharisees over and over again, but the only time he ever rebuked the crowd was, he said, you can tell what the weather's going to be, but you don't know your hour of visitation. So he wanted them to know. And I say this every week. I like when Jesus went into town, the demons started crying out, have you come to torment us before the time? Instant submission. So they knew Jesus was on a schedule, but they knew that he was early. So, hey, wait a minute, you're early. So if demons can know the schedule, how much more the church? And there's been such a fallacy about, oh, you can't tell when the Lord's coming back. Yet there's verse after verse after verse to show us what it would look like just before he comes. Why? So we would have a heads up. And you say heads up, what do you mean? He said, when you see these things come to pass, lift up your heads. The whole purpose of that is to not be downtrodden, not be sad, not be discouraged, but to accelerate. Your strength will be tied to your joy. There should be so much joy, so much expectation, so much happiness happening right now that people tell you to break that pill in half. Whatever you're on, cut it down a notch. So let's pick up what's happened, man, because of all the reports that keep coming through every single minute in the last 2 days. Israel under attack. So what happened? Israel preemptively struck some sites in Gaza. They were missile places, missile factories, missile warehouses, and some other locations where some top brass were. The top 3 leaders of Palestinian Islamic Jihad got killed. Israel took them out. They were touting that they could hide from Israel. Well, this was in response for the 100 rockets last month that came into Israel. And Israel said, hey, we will respond. So last night and the night before, you had 40 fighter planes, 40 helicopters hit 100 some odd targets in Gaza. And man, just radical explosions. So now the Palestinians today have fired over 370 rockets at Israel. So you've got a barrage of rockets going all over the land. I had some friends that were there a couple of weeks ago that said, Joe, wherever we went, we were having to go to shelters. So it was so extreme with these 300 some rockets that are happening right now that Israel's the first time ever is implementing, it's kind of a plan for evacuations for individuals. I mean, one thing after another, systematically they're doing things to close off railways, close off areas into Gaza and outside of Gaza so that Israel has a implemented plan to get as fast as they can to shelters. And they're doing that this time for the first time ever. Well, why is all this happening? Well, you got the Palestinians thinking they could take advantage of Israel's discord. Well, in the middle of that, we talk about it every week, but this is crazy. The International Atomic Energy Agency is kind of harassing Iran. This is what they came out with this week. They said Iran has enough enriched uranium for 5 nuclear weapons right now, and they will build by the end of this year 8 more nuclear weapons plants. So that would basically have 8 more plants than they have right now. They have 6 right now, so they'd have 14 plants for enriching uranium. And it's weird, there's no oversight whatsoever. So them saying they could have 5 right now, you have Gallant, Israel's defense minister, even agreeing with that, saying, yeah, we know that their enriched uranium's up to that percentage that they could do that. That's a huge deal because Iran's so crazy. I believe when they get to the point that they can, they're going to try to attack Israel, and it's going to backfire on them. It's going to blow up Damascus. Because Israel, like I said, every week has had to go into Damascus and take out missile batteries all the time. So You got something else happening this week. You have the leaders of Turkey, Iran, Syria, and Russia meeting together. Those are the players for the 6-day war. Once again, they're meeting in Moscow right now. In the middle of that, you've got China is threatening retaliation to the EU because the EU said they're going to do sanctions against China. Why? China keeps bouldering up Russia. All these countries keep helping Russia. I mean, they were using phosphorus gas this last week. There's so many war crimes going on that it's unbelievable. I mean, Russia keeps hitting apartment houses where children are and women are, not military sites. So all of that is building up as a crescendo because the pressure is on the earth to get ready for this 6-day war. So with that, you have all the things about the New World Order, all the things about meteorites. I mean, you have all these things about an international monetary system came out with a new digital coin, not just coin, but digital currency that's super, super easy for all the nations to join into. So all the things are in place for what's going to happen after we leave. It's pretty remarkable that you can see the setup for the coming of the Lord right now. You can't even get into all the stuff that's happening. We sent another nuclear-powered submarine to the Persian Gulf that has tons of Tomahawk missiles on it too. So we've got submarines in place. We've got ships in place. We had those A-10 Warthogs get sent this last week. Now those are with bunker buster bombs. Why? Because they knew Iran already had all those places that they were building underground. So the pictures Iran showed of their underground bunkers is pretty elaborate. So, but you know what? They're getting ready to get hit because Israel has to protect themselves. So all this is happening because the king's about to come. So let's go back to the signs. Every week we get into it. Number one, Israel made a nation. After that, Jerusalem won back. I mean, Jesus said the generation that sees those two events will not pass away till all is fulfilled. So we have all these signs. Signs aren't there to scare you. They're there to help you. So you have that. You have the Ethiopian Jews brought back in one day, 18,000 airlifted. You have the revival of the Roman Empire. Amazing. The EU set up just for one world order, set up to rule the earth for the Antichrist. You've got the Temple Mount Institute ready for sacrifices. You have 172 different species of predatory birds. Amazing. You have fish show up in the Dead Sea. Radical. You have the Dead Sea turn blood red where Sodom and Gomorrah was on the Day of Atonement. You have foxes showing up on the Temple Mount. You have the ritual baths around the Temple Mount fill up with water. You know, I hear people say, well, how can we tell the Lord's coming back? Everything the Bible said you'd see just before he comes is happening right in front of us. You had the Tower of Babel area in Palmyra, Syria. Had Russia rebuilt the archway for Baal worship. The Talmud says that's the last sign you'll see before the coming of the Messiah. Yeah, Rabbi Yitzhak Kaduri, Jesus appears to him. He accepts Jesus as his Lord. He writes a prophecy, says, now you open this up a year after I've died. And the prophecy was, I've come to accept Jesus as the Messiah, and Israel will be ruled by two Benjamins right before the coming of the Lord. Last year, Benjamin Netanyahu, Benjamin Gantz decided to jointly rule Israel. So you got all these things. There's so many more. I mean, men will be lovers themselves, who have selfie sticks. You have sign after sign after sign after sign. It gets to be almost radical. You had a meteorite hit a house in Texas last week. You had a meteorite hit in Russia. You had a meteorite come between, an asteroid come between the Earth and the Moon last week. So you have NASA has a brand new site for asteroids because there's so many that they're seeing after the fact. So why? There's great changes coming. Even the heavens will be altered. The sun won't give its light. There will not be any light at the second coming. The only light that the earth will see is the glory of God coming out of the face of Jesus. We'll be right there behind him. You talk about radiance. You talk about pomp and circumstance. You know, the coronation of the king in England happened this last week, and people saw UFOs in the sky there. There's been all kinds of meteorites and asteroids this last week in England. So all this heavenly activity is happening because the entrance of the king is so soon. The earth's about to see the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords. So what do? Help our local church, help our local pastor, hustle. Everything is about a hustle mentality. Whatever we need to do right now, let's do it. Let's be all on board. We don't fit church into our life. It is our life. So how blessed are we and privileged are we that we get to be on the earth at the very end of the church age? You're writing your resume for what you'll be doing for the 1,000-year millennial reign while he's on the earth, so go for it. Put something cool on your resume. Let's rock. Hey, thanks for coming this week. We'll find out what's happened. I have a tendency to believe that not only will the Palestinians freak out with more rockets, but I believe other nations might get involved to help them. So even right now, you have Jordan pushing with the Palestinians, say, we're not going to have a Palestinian state, but we're going to have a new Hashemite state with the West Bank of Israel will be in it. Jordan will be in it. And I like this. They said Amman, Jordan would be the capital, not Jerusalem. So you watch, there's a lot of changes coming right now that are being presented to Israel that could be of help. And you watch, eventually the EU is going to step in with the head of the EU go, this is the plan, and that's going to be the covenant with death and hell. So we're watching it play out right in front of our eyes. Have a blessed, wonderful week. We'll see you next Wednesday.
Thanks for joining us today at the End of Days Update. If you'd like to be notified every time there's a new post, just go to the edu at josephmorris.com and subscribe to receive email alerts. If these posts and updates have been a blessing to you, please consider making a one-time donation to help get the message out, or even becoming a monthly partner with Joseph Morris Ministries. Thanks again for tuning in to the EDU, and we'll see you next week.